I think anyone who runs any business is always thinking about contingency plans and backups. If you wait till it happens without any plan, then you'll be in a tough position.
Here we are. It's almost the 2018 to 2019 NFL season, and yeah, I know it's probably a little late to make this video, but I feel that this is an important topic and quite interesting to cover, as the majority of fans and media are still scratching their heads a little bit over the trade of Patriots' former backup Jimmy Garoppolo to the 49ers last season. It was definitely one of the more confusing and talked about NFL moves recently, but as usual, there's more to the story than initially thought. As more comes out about the situation and relationship between Tom Brady and Jimmy G, I think it's time to take a look back on the situation. Okay, so we all know the same story by now. Tom Brady's getting old, his cliff where he completely falls off is coming soon, and questions about the Patriots' future at the quarterback position are being asked. We know it, we got it. Now, based on my research for this video, I've come to the conclusion that this is actually where the problem originates. Despite Brady not showing any real signs of fatigue, Bill Belichick is always one to plan for the future and has even gone on record to say he wants to leave the team in a good place when it comes his time to depart. Belichick saw potential for the future in Jimmy Garoppolo and took him at 62nd overall in the 2014 NFL Draft, the highest drafted quarterback New England had selected since Drew Bledsoe. Belichick was not messing around. He knew that this guy was the future. From his preseason starts to his performances during Brady's suspension, Garoppolo had shown steady development and promise early on. He learned and developed behind arguably the greatest to ever do it, and he had even become undefeated in limited starts. But you see, this is where things get complicated. Reports late last season began to surface about the truth behind the trade of Jimmy G, saying that Tom Brady himself was actually the issue. Sources say Brady in his old age began to feel threatened by Garoppolo, especially with the Patriots organization not believing that Brady would be playing beyond the length of Garoppolo's rookie contract. Soon enough, Brady began playing in his 40s with Garoppolo's contract ending. New England obviously wanted to plan for the future and re-sign him with starter-type money. Around the same time came reports of tension in the organization between Brady, Belichick, and the owner Robert Kraft. There had actually already been previous issues with the trio over the TB12 method and Brady's trainer Alex Guerrero. So we have these previous issues, now adding intimidation from a young developing quarterback, and even a reported shifting locker room beginning to gravitate towards Garoppolo. These are all very real factors that may have influenced the decision to dump Jimmy G in the end. It is this kind of thinking that can make some popular theories seem less outlandish and actually kind of believable. Belichick may have seen Tom was regressing in one way or another, and Tom found out. Then Belichick may have been ready to move on from Tom, with Tom finding out and telling Kraft, leading to Kraft forcing the trade and Belichick not wanting to cheat Garoppolo or put him in a bad position, so he calls up Kyle Shanahan, who he knows needs a quarterback, and offers Jimmy G for just a second-round pick. There was also the trade deadline coming up and not a whole lot of time for negotiation. I don't think we'll ever get a firm answer, so unfortunately, we're just kind of left to speculate and float around conspiracy theories. So take this all with a grain of salt. Nobody really knows exactly what the motivation for the trade was, but how far off can these types of theories really be? Continuing on, there seemed to be a notion that Bill Belichick had been prepared to move on from Tom Brady sooner rather than later, but Bob Kraft was obviously not down with that, and this just adds to some of the tension mentioned earlier. Belichick was most likely left having to rush and try to get anything in return for Garoppolo. There are also reports that say Kyle Shanahan was the first call that Belichick made when he had to make the trade, which goes back to other reports that Belichick and the Patriots wanted to see Garoppolo succeed, supporting him going to San Francisco rather than hanging him out to dry by shipping him somewhere to Cleveland, who, for the record, also had an offer in. Let's step back for a minute though. This is also a different era of Tom Brady than his earlier days. Today we see Brady working for his legacy, taking football incredibly professionally with a business-like mindset. He's even harder on himself and others than he's ever been in the past. Take his heated exchange with Josh McDaniels last season as a perfect example of this. This is a version of Tom Brady that is working hard and isn't messing around, trying to cement his legacy and win while he can. This also adds to why it isn't so hard to believe that he had a say in the trade of Jimmy Garoppolo, and the Patriots resetting their plans for the future. He has done so much for that organization and developed a family-like relationship with Robert Kraft and most likely Bill Belichick as well. The Patriots have been doing what they do with Brady and Belichick for so long, and Belichick has always said he will play the best players, no matter who they are. So why, at this stage in his career, would Tom Brady want to feel even remotely threatened by a young and rising star in Jimmy Garoppolo? Bill Belichick has famously stated his entire career that the idea of long-term security doesn't exist in the NFL. All in all, the tensions were high and rising, and it appears that Brady had the final say in trading Jimmy Garoppolo. However, one can also make the argument that Belichick knew they wouldn't be able to reach a new deal with him, so he got something out of Garoppolo while he can. On the other hand, there have been reports of bad blood directly between Brady and Garoppolo, again feeding the theory of the threat and intimidation factors. Garoppolo spoke on Brady this week, and though being taken out of context by some sources, he said, quote, "When I first got to New England, I thought in my head, I'm better than this dude." Jimmy also said, quote, "We got along, but there were always times where we wanted to kill each other." Sure, this was rather jokingly, but it feeds into the competitive nature of both of the players. I think at the end of the day, through all the speculation, it most likely came down to tensions rising in the organization and a rush trade being pushed through in the end. If you asked for the short and sweet answer, I'd say Tom Brady was the problem. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Tom Brady. I think he's a great guy and an amazing player and role model. But if the reports are accurate, then this trade will go down on his shoulders in one way or another. I think that all involved wanted the best for each other, despite clearly headed on different paths with different motivations. Once again, there's a lot of speculation and theory here, so please take this with a grain of salt. So that is the problem with the Jimmy Garoppolo trade. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to this channel for more sports and music content, and give a thumbs up if you like this video.